Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2017. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. And if you'd join us in the pledge, we'd appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Rattari, you would start us off with the roll.
Trustee LaRue,
Here.
Trustee Everson,
Here.
Trustee Wiegand,
Here.
Trustee Marks,
Present.
Treasurer Johnson,
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Gerard, Township Attorney Roger Zappa, Township Fire Chief Ron DeMaris, and Township Superintendent of Public Works Kirk Page. Committee members present is Mike Springer from Planning, Recreation, and Roads.
Thanks, Randy. Next on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which tonight consists of approval of the regular minutes of June 6th, received in committee and other reports, including the Sheriff's Department activity report from May, Fire Chief and Fire Marshal's report of May, as well as water production report, Recreation Committee agenda for June 20th, Peter White Public Library Township Advisory Council minutes for March 1st, the Supervisor's report, correspondence not requiring board action, including that from the DEQ regarding amended 2017 chemical monitoring schedule, and from UPCO regarding order and notice of hearing in Michigan Public Service Commission case number U18254, and bills payable in the amount of $136,634.42. Also, the financial statements from May.
Approval of the consent agenda.
Hold it.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to remove B3 for discussion.
Water production report.
As
Okay,
amended.
and we'll make that, we want to consider that unfinished business, since it was something previously requested.
Okay.
We'll put it down at 10.
E3.
3. Okay,
As
and
amended.
we have a amendment, motion and second.
No second yet.
Oh, second.
I thought I heard Pete, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And we have approval of the rest of the agenda.
Move to accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Anybody wish to address the board? You can come up to either microphone. We have now two, thanks to our clerk Rattari's expanding our listening abilities. Sure, Tom, feel free.
Hi, my name's Tom Curry, and I'm easy for me to say, I'm a candidate for the Michigan State House of Representatives for the 109th District, along with him. Just want to introduce myself. I have been a township supervisor in Limestone Township down in Alger County for 25 years. I own a small business. Rolling Smoke Barbecue used to be right up here on the corner. And I'm in this for the people of the UP. I'm very pro-labor. I am a little right of center on the fiscal side. As a township supervisor, the hardest part of my job is spending other people's money. It's something you got to do, but I don't like doing it, so we're real careful where we spend our money, and I'll carry on that same tradition down in Lansing. Anybody have any questions for me?
This is your chance to
My chance.
extol
Okay.
your virtues. Yes, sir.
I got 3 minutes. I got a 3-minute
Sure,
speech here. So.
sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I was elected to the position of Limestone Township Supervisor in 1992. 25 years later, I still hold that position. As a township supervisor, I know the needs of local government, and I've been around the block a couple of times with different issues, and you have a lot of the same issues. On the dark store thing, I have some unique ideas for it, and I think I can get them through. I've been talking with people down in Lansing on both sides of the aisle on those issues, and I think I can get the money back. The problem with the dark store thing is if they fix it and throw out the decisions and make it so it comes back up, the damage is already done. You don't get your money back with proposal A. You've lost that. Anyways, it can only go up 5% or inflation. I've got ideas where we can get it back, and I think we can make them work. I'm a strong union supporter, and I'm committed to repealing the Michigan Right to Work Act. As a small businessman, I know that for the local economies to thrive, the working class has to thrive. In order for them to thrive, those mines have to thrive out there, but they got to have controls. So we've got to help them succeed so that our working class can succeed, so our business can succeed. We don't want malls emptying out like they are all around the area because the big box stores are here. We need to get those stores back opened up again, or stores back in those malls. And that's what I'll be trying to do, is bring good, high-quality paying jobs to the Upper Peninsula and to our district. And that's pretty much, I'm a veteran. My father's a veteran, my son's a veteran. Veterans' rights and veterans' issues are real high on my priority list. My son served 10 years in the Army, 3 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan, and he can't get insurance for his family now that he got out. That's wrong. We need to fix that, and I'll do my best to make it so none of our veterans have to worry about if they can get health care for their family or if they can put food on the table for their families. That's my quick 3-minute speech. I got a position, so I can't pass out.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you can pass it
Sure,
on.
that's fine.
They tell us who I am and why I have my position, and that's because
Thanks.
the party told me to say it. I'm a personal experience.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good. Anybody else wish to address the board? Yeah, you can, as long as if nobody else wants to. That way you have your time. Looks like, Mike, did you have anything? You look like you were going to get up. Okay, I don't want to squelch anybody. Okay. Go ahead, Ross.
Well, thank you. My name is Rich Rossway. I'm also a candidate for the 109th seat on the Republican side. Had a chance to talk with Tom, and he's a great guy, and we've had some really good discussions already. And I think one of the focal points that I want and what motivated me to run was so much political divisiveness that I see in our country and even in our area, and how people are labeled as you're either a Democrat or a Republican. And while we have to align ourselves with the political group, I think it's so important that you accomplish things by collaboratively working together and doing what's best for the 109th district. That's served me very well in some of my roles that I played in the community. I'm currently the board president of the Marquette Area Public Schools. I've been on the board for 17 years. Last 5 years as board president. And you have to work together as a team to really be able to accomplish things. And this includes contract negotiations with 5 unions. They didn't always go well, but we always kept our eye on the ball, which is you take care of the taxpayer, you take care of the students, and you take care of your employees. And sometimes there's contradictions between those two, but I know today we are a very healthy school system. We have money in the bank. Don't want to say that too loud in case there's any teachers here or anything. But, we're a successful district, and we've been able to pass a bond and the sinking fund. We're expanding our elementary schools, and so I think I've learned a lot from that. In my past, for many years, I worked for the Keweenaw Bay Indian community, and this was during a really challenging time when there was a tribal takeover and their CEO was under federal indictment. And there was the casino out in Harvey that was under a closure order from the federal government. we worked through that, and we worked through that by working with the Marquette Township Board, the Marquette County Board, and then Governor Engler and his Vice Governor Posthumous. And we were able to make that casino legal. It's the first time in the history of our country that an exception was made to the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act and actually allowed that casino to be legal. And I guess I just bring those things up because those are complex issues that you had to work through, and the only way we accomplished them was by working together. So a little bit of background. I'm a South Marquette boy. I have to look at Pete because I know you knew my dad. And I went to St. Peter's grade school. I was a freshman at Bishop Barriga year that they closed. And then I finished graduating at Marquette Senior High School. I married my wife, Rita. We've been married for 26 years. We have 2 children. I, too, am a veteran. I was a Vietnam era veteran. I served as a military policeman from 1973 to 1976. And in terms of issues, I'm hesitating talking about issues because I haven't talked with enough people to really understand what is really at issue with our residents in the 109th. Dark stores, of course, and jobs and higher pay certainly. But to me, the bureaucracy that we deal with in our state is just ridiculous when you look at the things that are bogged down small business owner and organizations trying to do a good job. I remember when Representative Kivala took years or months in working with this Department of Human Services manager in Marquette. And the solution was to move them someplace else because of the bureaucracy of that. And on the other hand, we have Lieutenant Governor Kelly talking about reducing the legislature to a part-time legislature. That's not where the problem is at all, I don't believe. It is the bureaucracy that has just built up so much layers and layers and layers, and that's why we have a hard time getting things done. So I'd be glad to answer any questions, but I also have some materials, but I only brought 7 of them, so only the board gets them. No, all due respect to you, Randy.
Not a problem.
Any questions for Rich? The one thing I'd like to point out for all the candidates or any in the future that come and speak with us is I think it's very important to have our representatives come and see us and talk to us and find out whether that's at the board level and address the board completely, give us an update, ask questions, or if they sit down with the manager periodically. John tried to do that a few times, not so much since I've been on as supervisor, but we had joint meetings with the city when he was mayor and stuff, and I think those kinds of conversations have to keep happening. Otherwise, you're just down there in Lansing and we're somebody way far away,
And I agree. I remember John coming up to me and we had talked a lot, and he admitted, he says, I know nothing about education. Can you help me? And we met at least quarterly just to discuss bills that were coming up and what our stance was. Because when you have the legislature running your schools, I think that's where we've really run into trouble, and that's for another different discussion. But we've met with Governor Snyder on several occasions, Congressman Bergman, I've already met with him a couple of times, and Senator Casperson. And this is strictly about education, so I agree. And we reached out to our legislators, and they were very willing to come and meet with us too. So I think
maybe
that's a great
that's our
idea.
mistake that we aren't inviting them more. We can do that. We expect them to just be here and have all the answers. We know that's not possible, but
The good thing we did have, Lynn, is we had that twice a year to meet the representatives. I think that's going to continue on too.
Very valuable.
We'll do that again.
okay. Anything else? Okay. Thanks for coming. We sure appreciate it. We are on YouTube, so if we have these discussions, or if you just want to check our agendas and see if there's something that you might know that we don't, that would be awesome too. We were happy to give you privileged comment or a quick public comment or something, so we can keep that communication going. It's too important. Okay, any board member comment? Anything anybody wants to share or ask? Randy?
I got a couple items. I had training I believe, last Tuesday at the county courthouse on the new election machines coming out that will be in place for the August election. And they're not too different than the old ones, except they're going to be a little bit slower when you put your ballot in. It's not going to go in quite as fast, but there's a reason for that. It's going to take its time. It scans the ballot now. So if any recount happens, they won't have to touch the ballots. The machine scans them, and then they can take the whole election on a jump drive to the county, and then they can recount them with that. So it's a lot better than hauling all those ballots down there, but we still have them. And also, too, if the voter remembers, if you screwed up the ballot and you put it in and it come out quick right away, it was kind of embarrassing. The new machines now, if you screw your ballot up when you put them in, there's two buttons that light up on the side. There's a green button and the red button. And the green button will allow you to put it through without fixing it if you so desire to do that. Or if you hit the red button, it'll come out. And so it's a lot easier for the voter to decide what they want to do there. So I think it's going to be positive moving forward. The machines, like I said, are no cost to us right now through year 6. From year 6 to 10, we're going to have about a $1,500 to $1,600 a year maintenance contract. But looking at the machines, I think everything's going to be good. It's not going to be too much of a change for the voters and the election workers moving forward. So, and we will have our election workers will be trained on the new machines in late July. So we'll have that training in late July for our workers. And excuse me, last week we had a work session on policy governance, a video conference work session that I thought went pretty well. And in our endeavor to move to policy governance, so we got into it a little bit, and we still have to have another session, which has to be scheduled tonight. And so we need to do that, Lynn, sometime during the meeting, schedule that other work session. But I think it went pretty well. And I think this board will, try to move that way. And like I said, be patient with us when we do move to that, because the agendas are going to be a little different. You're going to see some differences. And because policy governance is not the way we're doing it now. So it'll be a little different, but hopefully through the patience of the residents, it'll be better for us moving forward. So that's all I have.
Thanks. Anybody else want to share something or ask? Pete?
Let's thank everybody going to the car show this weekend, or last weekend. I think we had about 150 some sites for cars. We had a good turnout, and a lot of moving parts in that thing, and there are a lot of people to thank, and the fire department for having the fire truck there and also leading the parade. Westwood Mall for taking up their whole parking lot. Helen was very good working with her. And is it BB's, not
Big B?
Big B's for the coffee, and Super One and all those other people to put something like that on. It was just amazing how nice it was.
Good crowd.
It was a good crowd. And I just want to thank everybody involved in that, and just mark your calendar for August 5th, because that's going to be our community days, and that's the other big event for the events committee. So next is on the road project. Be patient. We got a lot of construction going on in small areas, and so just be patient and just be careful. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Pete. How did the parade go? I didn't get involved with that.
We still got to work on that one.
Well, we were limited with road availability.
yeah.
So I just
It went all right. The weather was kind of threatening a little bit, so some of the cars departed. But basically, it got modified a little bit. Some cars went the wrong way, so it was kind of cool. We went two circles, opposing circles, which was good. It got everybody out there. It was fun anyway.
It's kind of funny, though, when you see the clouds, these guys really worry about their car.
Oh boy, I can't tell you.
One of them, Larry, he said, I would have had 3 more cars, but I thought it was going to rain, so, I mean, wow.
Okay.
I couldn't even buy one of those now. Feel worse now since Rich said that I knew his dad. Used to deliver groceries to him.
Yes, Ernie.
There was another letter to the editor from the manager from the Ishpeming, Nat, and I hope you all had a chance to read it. He went more in depth on the cost for revenue sharing and that, and I thought he did an excellent job in bringing things up in that. So if you haven't had a chance to read that, reread that and that, because it directly affects us because of revenue sharing and that. Not only Ishpeming, they do get some, we don't get any in that. We get constitutional, but we don't get revenue sharing in that. It's a very good article that he wrote.
Thanks. I have a couple things to share. I wanted to congratulate Andrew Rickauer, who's one of our DDA members, got promoted in his job. And we did talk about the car show. At some point, I'd like to talk to you about Heartwood. I think we'll put that on maybe the next agenda, so we can figure out which direction we'd like to go. We've had an appraisal done, and I'm looking for some direction. So I think we'll put that on the next agenda, and we can have a little conversation if we don't have too many politicians here taking up a lot of time. Mark that down. I'd like to talk about board photo at our next meeting. It's going to be, I believe it's Monday the 3rd because of the 4th
Oh,
holiday.
it's Wednesday, the
Did we make
5th.
it
It's the
Okay,
5th.
that's what I wanted to verify. Because I did talk with Jason and he's happy to take the picture. Monday works for him, but I'll talk to him about Wednesday. But I will let you know, so watch your emails so we can confirm that. And we'll do it,
Saying we have to dress up?
yes, you do, like about 6 o'clock. We'll try to meet outside unless it's raining or something. We'll play it by ear, but I just wanted to throw it out so you wouldn't forget. And if you notice, we got the grass cut in the corridor. We were trying to get that coordinated. Poor Randy with the road commission and calling the city and who's cutting the grass, and they didn't let us know, and it was kind of a mess, but at least some of it looks better. I did attend, I spent about 5 hours today at a supervisors conference at the Holiday Inn that's put on by the Michigan Association of Township Supervisors. I never heard of the group until I went to MTA this year, and one of the other supervisors gave me her card and mentioned it. So anyway, they're quite an organization. They had a conference today. It's all day tomorrow. I learned everything I didn't want to know about being a supervisor and how much more involved that is than what even MTA tells you. I learned what the clerk is supposed to be doing and what the treasurer is supposed to be doing. So
You
there's
don't want to know.
there's a lot more than I thought. So I just wanted to share that with you. So I'll be there all day tomorrow too. And we did talk about medical marijuana, and I know Pete went to at least, I don't know if Dave, you went to that conference they had here too. Very informative, and what we have to do and not do and can't do. And so anyway, I feel a little smarter today. So thank you for that. I did have that couple $100 in my budget for that conference. So if that's it for board members, we're good? Okay. Staff reports, we've got 2. We've got Public Works and the Fire Department. So Kirk, you are first. You can go to either microphone, remember. Louder it is. See if that helps.
Okay, you did move this to a different item, but I'm assuming I can go ahead
Yeah, I don't
and
too.
discuss it now.
Yep.
So at your request, I've added one extra spreadsheet, and I made it separate because we've already got a whole ton of spreadsheets here. And actually, these are put together from multiple other spreadsheets, so
Kind of thought so.
like it might be a little bit clearer if I separated it out. Plus, I tried to, the new part is actually adding the water sold relative to the water produced. And I also shrank it down to fit on one page, so it's a little bit tiny, but again, I still think it's better than having a pile of spreadsheets. So basically, I've only, the most recent month available for sales is actually April, and so that's the first one I did. And basically, it's still divided into two districts: the purchase water district, which is essentially the Cox district, and then our pump district, which is the groundwater district, which is everything else. And in the difference between the sold and the purchased is in the Cox district is 11.8%. So there's essentially 11.8% that is, we'll call it unaccounted for. I also I have to do basically an audit of this whole system, which I'm just starting, and that's basically kind of in conjunction with the asset management, because numbers can be kind of misleading if you're just dividing one number by another and getting a difference. The other district, the groundwater district, we actually sold more than we produced. So obviously that's not, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but at this point I can't say exactly what the reason is. I suspect it's actually in the billing part. I have already started discussing that with the accounts clerk, and it's only been brief, but I'm sure there are going to be a number of issues in terms of, it's not that the numbers are not accurate, the numbers are very accurate, but in terms of the reporting part of the accounting. For example, whenever there's a change of customer in the same address, each customer has their own account, and the customer who's left is an inactive account. So when I ask for some information about a monthly report on water sold, it's just going to be like the active account, so that that's going to distort the numbers. And I'm sure there are going to be other areas in terms of the billing reporting that we'll be able to identify. Another thing is if a customer is late on paying a bill, for example, it'll show that for that customer, those customers for that particular month, there was no water sold. Well, obviously it was sold, it will ultimately be paid, but that's again going to distort the numbers. So the overall for the month of April is there's actually just a 0.6 unaccounted for, which is the standard, and the goal is 10%. So we're already above that. But again, it's just 1 month, and actually I think this month will probably be hopefully the trend. As we go back, and in the past it's jumped all over the place, and there've been a variety of reasons for that. So I'm not going to get too excited about 1 month, but I can tell you that there's going to be some differences as we go back, because the previous report that I have been providing, comparing production this year to last year, you probably noticed that in particular, the purchase of water from the city has gone way down, and there are a couple of reasons for that. In fact, so far this year, it's over 12 million gallons, and the reason for that is, one of the reasons is we did have a break last year in the Cox district, and by looking at these reports, last year's report relative to the 2015 report, I could see that something was happening beginning in January of last year in Cox District. But the leak was not actually discovered and repaired until like June or July. So that's going to make an impact there. Another thing we've done is we've been working on a meter upgrades and replacements. And we're basically installing smart meters. The main reason is we can actually remotely read meters automatically. But the meters themselves are also more accurate over a wider range. So in other words, we can measure low flows much more accurately than we ever could before. So the old meters were aging. They were mechanical meters, so that basically they get less and less accurate as they age. The new ones also have a lifespan, but they are going to be more accurate over that range of flows. But we have a number of master meters that measure basically water coming into the township and water going back into the city. And so the main meter, which is on Meeske Avenue, we have 2 meters, one going in each direction. So we replaced our meter, which measures the water going back, with one of these new smart meters last year. So therefore, we're measuring that particular one way more accurately than we could before. And so the way the contract reads is what we pay is the net volume coming into the township. So what comes in is netted against what goes back.
When did we replace that, Kirk? Would that affect? have
That was
affected-
last summer.
Oh,
So.
okay, so it's not in relation to this report. Okay.
Well, it would be, because that's what I'm saying. There were a couple of reasons that we're purchasing less water. The main reason, I believe, was the break. But this new meter also had, in my opinion, an impact. I can't actually quantify it right now, but I'm sure that's going to have an impact. So in other words, the meter coming in is still the old mechanical meter. The meter going out, which is our meter, is the new super meter. More accurate.
How far are we in putting those meters in? How are we?
Well, we're about 95% complete on that.
Okay. So it'll be
And some of the
this year.
meters, the meter, the existing meter was not really too old, so we didn't really need to replace the meter. So we've been replacing the registers. So basically, we can read it much more efficiently, but the meter itself is still the same, probably less accurate.
Okay.
And it's my understanding I've actually taken a number of seminars related to asset management and water audits, and our particular meters that we're installing, I've learned through other people, not the company itself, that their accuracy is actually even greater than what's published. So in terms of the asset management that you had asked for an update on, again, we have 2 basically programs. One's going to be water, one's wastewater. They're happening concurrently, but we have ordered a data collector, which will be paid for out of the wastewater fund, because we're getting a grant, a 90% grant for wastewater, but we got no grant for the water. So if I'm going to be able to use it on both systems, I'll pay for it out of the wastewater system. So that's happened, but it's been ordered, but we have not received that yet. Another thing that's happened is I have gone back to our software vendor, because obviously we're going to have to make some changes. First of all, we have a different rep, so I'll be contacted by our current rep. But I know there are going to be some changes. I know we need to get the application for the tablets, the fuel tablets, which which there'll be a cost associated with that. But more importantly, we're also interfacing with GIS. So part of my grant application included a couple of licenses and a server, GIS server, but I haven't done that yet. So the question is, actually we have a GIS license already, which I had purchased years ago, but you know, I never did the upgrades or anything, so I'm not sure if I can use the existing one, if that's legal or not. Because once you start dealing with these companies, especially two companies that interface, I'll probably have to spend more money. But hopefully we can get started without the interface. But the interface is going to be extremely valuable in terms of just working together. So in other words, it's one thing to have data, but to have it, you know, geo-referenced, it's just going to make both of them basically more powerful. So it's going to be very, extremely valuable. As an example, this, you know, during the water project discussions, there was a lot of discussion about the unaccounted for water. Okay, well, basically, the engineers' results were pretty much the same thing I've been experiencing, which is they're pretty much all over the place. However, when I did the 2013, or had a study done by Stantec, the reliability study for the water system, they looked at the same thing, but they actually used GIS. So they looked at the billing numbers, but they actually tied those numbers to property. That's the kind of stuff that's really, like I say, it's going to increase the value of these numbers and make them more make more sense. Also, the UP engineers we contracted with to do an assessment, condition assessment of our master meters, our pressure reducing valves, and our two major water customer, their metering vaults. It's not quite complete. It's almost complete. I'm meeting with Scott Sweener tomorrow to go over, you know, what he's got so far. That's on the water side. On the sewer side, I'm revisiting. A big component of that is going to be our pipe and manhole assessments. I had a quotation from 3 years ago from an Escanaba firm, but in the intervening time, our system is aged, so I've had to add basically 50% more mains, just due to, you know, I've got more that over that 20-year mark now. So that's going to be an increase in cost there. But more importantly, I met with it's actually a new manager of, it's actually a subdivision of UP Concrete Pipe, who manufacture pipe products. And they've always had this subsidiary of televising sewer mains. Well, actually, right after I got that quote, the chief of that particular division passed away. And so after some time, the son of the owner of both companies decided to, who had graduated from school and was working, you know, in urban areas, decided to come back and take over the business. Well, he's young and very, very bright, and basically he has become what he's going to offer, and I've seen a presentation, but he hasn't given me the quotation yet. He's going to be offering us data that's also going to be way more usable than just having, you know, stacks of expensive paper on a shelf somewhere. So, in other words, what he's going to give to us will interface again with the our record keeping. So it'll be, there's just so much data that you can kind of distill and layer in GIS. So we're pretty excited about that. But again, I'm still waiting. That's going to be next week before he's going to actually give me a proposal. So the bottom line is probably the wastewater. I'm going to be going over budget, which only means that we'll actually going to have to spend some money probably to get that done. But basically, because the way it is, the grant is for a definite amount. So once I exceed that amount, just got to pay for it.
So what are we looking at, $10 or 10,000?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be more than $10,000. But I don't know yet because I don't have the prices. And I might be able to cut some other stuff out, but.
So you can share this even though the wastewater department's going to pay for it, you can share it on the water side? That's not going to be a problem without having to actually expense it to the water side?
Right. If it's stuff that I have to purchase, because it's already, it qualified for the grant. And the grant was pretty specific in terms of what qualified and what you could do with it, so, yes.
Any questions
So
for
that's
Kurt?
it in a nutshell.
Do you want to, excuse me one second, Dave, do you want to talk about I don't know if Dave's got more specific questions on the,
Water loss.
yeah, if you want to do that now, since
That's
Kirk
fine.
is up, and then he can go home.
That's fine.
Is that all right? Do we need to actually amend the agenda, Randy, or, okay, because he's already up there. We should have thought of this.
I guess the first question that comes to mind is I assume that the water production report, groundwater is the well fields,
Correct. Yep.
and surface water is the city.
Yep.
Okay, when you were making your comments there, I was sure that you would refer to the more sold than purchased was under the groundwater, and that's actually under the city on your spreadsheet. What it's showing here is in April, we actually sold 3.8 million gallons,
Yeah, that is the groundwater.
and we only purchased 3.5, so there's some 300,000 gallons more that we sold than we purchased.
Right.
I guess I'm wondering about the usefulness of the report. If you, for whatever reason, those numbers are askew, I can't understand in a given month how we are selling more than we're buying from the city.
No, that's, maybe it wasn't clear enough on that. I did divide it into two different, it's still the same city water, township water. Okay, they're definitely two different systems. Now, there may be leakage between one system to the other.
Okay, but just to
but
clarify, surface
yeah.
water, you're referring to the city water, right?
Yeah,
And groundwater, you're referring to the well fields.
yep.
So I think what he's saying is that even though they're separate in here statistic-wise, the difference is the culmination of the two. So we're not actually in the negative.
Overall, right.
Isn't that what you just said, I
Yep.
think, a few minutes
Yep.
ago?
I'm not following this at all.
And I wonder if maybe waiting
Okay.
until we have May's numbers to have something, because this is the first time we did this, if it would help to have some different numbers for May and then look at it. At first, I thought maybe these numbers were reversed, and that's what Dave said too, to be able to come up with a negative sold.
And what we're looking for is what I was looking for. I was looking for a way that you could track unmetered water loss, and you could keep track of whether that's increasing or not, and how much it's increasing over the years. These numbers don't really do that. I mean, you can't have a negative 8% water loss. It means we gained water.
Well, correct, but overall, it's only 0.6.
Well, see, that doesn't even add up. The total doesn't add up. If you had 11.8% difference in the well water and you had a negative 8% in the city water,
Yeah.
you can't put those two together and come up with 6%. It doesn't average that way.
Well, I'm still looking at the totals though for both for the third number.
When I was looking at the total sold and the total purchased on the end of that spreadsheet,
Yep.
and we come up with a difference of, is that 0.6%?
0.6%, correct. That's the total for both districts, correct. Yep.
That's why I think we need to wait till next month to see what next month's numbers look like. I'm kind of thinking the formula is a little bit. Actually, Ernie, you were first.
I'm following up a little bit on Dave's. When I'm looking at the surface water and you purchase X number of gallons of water and you sold X number, that doesn't make sense at all to me, because if you only purchase so much, how can you sell more than you purchased unless you're running down our tanks down to nothing in that to account for it? It just doesn't make sense to me at all, that you can sell more than we purchased at all.
Right. And this has happened before, and that's what I'm saying. There are all kinds of components to these numbers, you know, and this particular one, I'm pretty sure, but I can't say it for sure, absolute positively that, but I'm pretty sure it's the billing numbers, the reporting of the billing numbers, okay?
John?
Are the monitored numbers taken on the same date, or can there be a gap?
No, they're all on the same day.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let me see if I can get together with you. I can't do it tomorrow. I'll be in session all day. Maybe next week, or at least before the next meeting, and see if you can explain it to me better.
Okay.
Let's try that and see. I'd like to look at the
And I'll try to get some of the more,
numbers too, the
not
formulas.
just the new stuff, but the older stuff as well.
Okay. Yeah, go back maybe a month or two. That would work. Let's try it
I'll
for
be going all the way back.
next meeting.
Yep,
Even if you can't get here, at least have the documentation.
yep,
That sound good?
yep.
Okay.
So we've got, it's not just customers again, it's also, we do sell a lot of water from hydrants, not a lot of water, but people rent hydrants for various reasons. We're also trying to keep track of what I'm calling the unbilled municipal use. So the public works uses water, fire department uses water. This particular month, this was all public works. But I already know that we both used water in May. It's still a relatively small amount. But, another thing would be, for example, last year we had that water project. Okay, well, there's a lot of water that was used that was not accounted for the new main construction. So you're taking a main out of service, and new mains require testing, and all the testing requires flushing, filling, chlorinating, flushing out the chlorine, and sometimes that has to be done multiple times. So, and since you're looking for particular velocities, that is not typically metered. In some cases it is, but not always. So,
Even if
and that's
we
the
put
kinds of things I'm looking at. I mean, there are other unmetered, for example, fire protection systems. Again, they don't use a lot of water, but they use some water. So I'm mulling over, metering that, because they're required to do testing. I'm pretty sure that the fire department's cracking down on the testing of the fire systems, which doesn't actually flow, but it does flow like a bypass. They're basically wasting water. So.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's see if we can get something better for the next meeting.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be better. It's going to be more. It's
Well, at
going to be
least
the same.
More informative, a little,
Sure,
because
yeah.
it's hard to tell on the first
Sure.
go-around.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see what we can come up with. Okay, anything else? Kirk? Any more questions for him?
I got one.
Yeah, Pete.
Can we pump more water ourselves versus purchasing it?
It's about 50/50. Sometimes it's, right now we are pumping more, but, you know, sometimes it's the reverse.
Is it cheaper to pump it ourselves or purchase it?
Well, we're pumping from the well field, so it's, you know, it's about the same, roughly the same. I mean, you know, we have a contract for the water cost, so, which we get a discount on based on.
No, I'm just kind of curious, if we
Court
pump
decision.
more ourselves, would it be cheaper? Or if we had to buy it, it'd be cheaper. Sometimes, you know, there's a difference there.
Well, again, that's kind of not a yes or no
Yeah.
answer. So, for example, if once we exceed our well field capacity, which could happen, I don't know when that might happen, then we'll have to purchase water from the city, okay? But we'll have to pump, we'll have to do more pumping, because then we have to pump at least to one more district. And that's going to increase our costs right there. So-
And you pump all the way to McClellan Avenue? The water from?
No,
Lincoln.
To Lincoln?
it's gravity,
No, that's what I meant. I mean, it goes all the way that way. Okay.
right. But that's basically where the meters are there at the boundaries of those districts.
Another one, Dave?
Yeah, I gotta say that if we can expect the same kind of numbers, which is what you said, I mean, there're just gonna be more of them. That report that, as it's presented, doesn't mean anything. It's not, and I go back, the reason this come up in the first place is we spent $153,000 to determine if we were gonna do a water main project or not. And one of the big driving factors there was the water loss, and we had it up as high as 28%. So we had an average of about an 18% water loss. I don't see, number one, I don't see any of these figures that represent anything close to that. But if the numbers are gonna be drawn from the same place where the first set of numbers came from, then it's not gonna mean anything. You can't track water loss with a negative number. And
Well,
I
right.
have to believe
Well, that negative number is not going to be typical, I'm pretty sure of that.
I don't know how it can ever exist, period, but that's a whole separate issue.
Well-
But your other comment about doing flushing and mains and stuff like that, you have to be able to quantify that somehow. I mean, you must know how much water you push through there to flush it out, whether it's metered or not.
Right, it can be done, it hasn't been done.
This is the first time he's been asked for this, so I have a feeling that there should be more columns in here.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, Dave. There
Defining
are a
something.
number of things that have to be looked at.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to hone in on a little bit, see if I can get that to make more sense. Okay?
All right.
All right, thanks, Kirk.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Next up is the fire department report. And we did have a pinning on here under new business for Mike, so, I mean, you go ahead. I was just gonna say, we didn't expect Mike to be here early, so we can add that in when we get finished with beating up on Ron.
Thank you. Beating up on
Oh, we beat up on Kirk, it's your turn.
Yeah, it's only fair, I guess.
Heck, yeah.
Okay, all right. I guess the stats on the first page, is there any board comment or questions on that at all? For the month of May? Going over the notes and comments, you can see we are currently running 7 different construction projects, although we did finally, wasn't in time to update this report, but we have done the My Place Extended Motel. We finally were able to do the dry sprinkler system flow test up in the attic, and so that'll get scratched off the list for next month. But we've got a lot of active construction going in the township right now, which is good, but it also stretches us a little thin some days trying to get to 2 places at the same time. The Iron Range roll, just highlighting some of the stuff out of the notes and comments section here, was another success. We fortunately had one of the nice days that we've had this spring, because we haven't had a lot of them. But it was a good day, lots of participants, and that continues to grow as it has every year. If you look at number 11, the jet ski, it is back at the station, and we'll probably stay back there until we have the press day, when we actually release the press announcements on the jet ski, all the different agencies that have helped us get that jet ski prepared and ready to go. And we were fortunate to have the family of Kaylee, one of the young people that perished last spring at Little Presque Isle, come up. They have every year since that incident, and the department has really developed, I really don't know how or why, but we've developed just a real special relationship with John Tansey and the mother of Kaylee. And they came up. We had a very nice meeting. It was a little difficult at times, but we got through it. And John surprised us. He had called me the week prior to them coming up, and said, is there anything else you guys are looking for? And I said, well, we're working on funds to raise for a surfboard that we tow behind the jet ski that we can deploy a diver off of. And he goes, well, what are we talking here? And I gave him through him some figures, and he says, okay, that's interesting. Well, a day before he came up, he said, you should be getting a large box in the mail, and the family contributed that surfboard, which was well over $1,000, to the fire department. They presented us that to us on the weekend that they were up here. I ended up spending a day and a half with the Tansey family, and just wonderful people. We formed really quite a relationship, and we're going to continue it. They're going to come up every year in the near future, and I just see them becoming part of our fire department family. They're just wonderful people, and very giving. So that was a positive note on the meeting. Mike, as you're going to meet here shortly, has been working on a DNR grant, and we're hoping, if we're successful, we're going to replace our Nomex coveralls. Some of them that date back 10, 15 years. They're getting to be pretty well worn. Along with that, we got some backpacks that we've put into the bid, and we're looking at some emergency shelters and tools. So looking forward, hoping that we're successful in the grant. Mike worked on it a lot, prepared, I thought, a very professional grant, so we hope to be successful. A couple things that have come up I want to make the board aware of. On Thursday, we are going to have a live fire propane training, and it's actually we're going to hold the classroom portion over here, and depending on what the propane people look at when they come up, whether it's going to be behind the station or may indeed be at the very end of our parking lot out here. But if you haven't seen this type of live fire demonstration and suppression, they burn hundreds and hundreds of gallons of propane, and it's a very large fire. We have a suppression team, we have an emergency backup team for them. I would encourage the board members, if you can get over and take a look. The classroom starts at 6:30, I think it is, Rob, goes till probably 7:30, quarter to 8, before we'll actually get outside and form up into teams and start the live fire training. But we attended one, I think it was back, Dan, if you can remember, probably 15 years ago now in the county, and it's as realistic as you'll ever get in a controlled situation. So I'd encourage the board, if you get a chance, to come up. Our computers that we do have in our trucks, and we've been waiting patiently for the server to come up at Central Dispatch, that is here, and they are just starting to program. Possibly by mid to end of July, we'll actually have the software company that is programming the server into the station, and they will start the programming. We'll be one of the first fire departments, and we are the only one that have the computer systems ready to roll out. And it's really just a matter of the server coming online at Central, and then the software company installing the software components into our computers. Once that is done, we'll have AVL, automatic vehicle location. Central receives a call from Marquette Township. As they type into the call, when we respond to the station, we get into the truck, all the correspondence between the dispatcher and the party that's called in will be displayed on our screen, along with the address of wherever the incident is. Once we start rolling out the door of the station, once we break a certain, I think it was 12 feet from the station door, automatically the computer puts us en route. When we get within X amount of feet of the incident scene, as Central has mapped it, it puts us on scene. Once we clear, it clears us. Once we back into the station, it'll actually put the unit back in service, back in the station. It'll cut down the push-to-talks, we call them, which is the key. You know, the mic each time you have to communicate back and forth with the dispatchers, probably 50%. There'll always be special, you know, instructions or whatever, they'll have to respond or back and forth, or we'll ask for extra resources at the scene. But this will really automate a lot of the dispatch process for them. And they are extremely, you know, that's a very stressful situation up there. We only hear one of the calls they're working. Many times that same operator is working 2 or 3 police calls, an EMS call, and a fire call simultaneously on the council. So it'll be a big step forward for everybody.
And some of those features you're already using, Ron, not so much to that in-depthness, excuse me, but one of the questions came up a few meetings ago about us having computers in the vehicles, and they're just sitting there, and it was a waste of money, and there's no point to it. But you are using some of the features already before you're even hooked up to dispatch.
Oh, the computers in all the trucks, the biggest feature, I mean, this is obviously going to be quite an advancement when the CAD system comes on. But we've always had, we only had one computer for a number of years. Last year, we were able to update all the frontline apparatus with computers, and they contain all of our pre-fire planning for every commercial or multifamily residential building in the township, and that's invaluable. When we go to that building at 2 o'clock in the morning, the incident command can look up floor by floor in a multi-story building. He can look up, he knows where the mechanical room is, he knows where the gas shutoff is, he knows where the electrical shutoff is, he knows the emergency contact people. That's all contained on the computer by occupancy type for the entire township.
And before you had the computers, you had a manual that you would use to look
Yep.
this up. And then with all the different vehicles, every time there was an update, you had to make sure that each book had all the
Yeah.
updated information.
We had a copy
So this is
each-
far and above what,
Throw away pages, add pages,
Yep.
and make multiple copies.
just adding
Plus,
the computers
there was-
alone helped.
In the trucks, there would be 2 binders that thick, you know, to leaf through, so. And the actual computers hold more data than we were even able to put on. It got to a point of diminishing returns in the 3-ring binder. You can only put so much information for them to try to leaf through. Now it's all contained on the computer, and you just push a button on the screen, and it'll bring up emergency contact numbers, you know, gas shutoffs, anything we need to know about that building. So it's a big step forward for us.
speaking of computers, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but we have the picture up now, Randy put up of the surfboard.
Yep. The gentleman on the left there is John, the father of Kaylee. The gal standing next to the surfboard that the Tansey family donated is Kaylee's mother. And then those 2 rough-looking characters in the back happens to be Rob and I peering over the back of the sled there. But that is the surfboard that the Tansey family purchased.
Great.
Pretty interesting piece of equipment. We've got lots of training to do this summer. We're kind of waiting for the weather to get a little bit more cooperative, but we will be doing some additional training with that. And then finally, speaking of the water that we're using of Kurt's, hose testing is coming up 29 June. For us, that's about a 14, 15-hour day for us. By the time the hose testing people, we set up targets, been gracious enough to let us use that east side of the building there. Lets the testing company put out a lot more holes than we were able to do in the past, but it's still an all-day event. We have to test every piece of hose to a certain standard for NFPA, and lay them all out, pressurize them, test them for a certain amount of time, roll them all back up, reload the trucks, and ferry them back and forth. So it's a big day, plus Chalkley, Nagani Township, I think this year, Ishmael Township, and Nagani will also be going through a very similar thing in that whole week. So it's going to be a busy time at the fire station.
How do you stagger your days then so that we have coverage? excuse me, you know, if you just strip down all the trucks at the same time?
Oh, no.
or-
No.
You just do one, so you have one available?
One goes over, gets stripped down, tested, and then while they're loading that truck, once we get enough hose on the bed that we know we can make a response, then the other truck will go over, they'll finish loading it, while the other guys start unloading. It's just a labor-intensive process, but
And you do that
It's-
once a year, you said?
once a year, every length of hose has to be pressure tested. And the only other thing that I wanted to point out, we've got, if you look under, I know there was some discrepancy last time about the numbers for daytime response, and I think one report showed a differing time frame where we have our biggest volume. But if you look under rescue and emergency medical services in the incident type report summary, you'll see that, you know, again, medical makes up 70%. And then if you look at the alarm hour time one, you'll see again that the 33% of our time is between 1500 and 1300, and then 1100 hours makes up 16 more percent. So regardless of what the other figures show, this comes right off the computer. There's no manipulation of the figures. They are what they are, and the bulk of our run volume continues to be in the day, which is why I push so hard for that additional daytime staffing. So, with vacation
What a
time instead.
segue. I said, what a segue into Mike.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't on purpose, but yes, it was.
That was good.
And everyone has the sheet, the breakdown sheet. I'd like to personally thank Mike and Rob. They worked hard on this, Rob created the spreadsheet, Mike put a lot of time into it. I was basically at the direction of a certain individual beating up the fire chief in Delta Township for a reduced price on the ambulance. So we were very successful, and they're still going to deliver it, remarkably enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they're even going to stop and pick out Gurney up on the way. So we're getting quite a deal out of the whole.
Okay, we can talk about that in a second. That's on the agenda anyway.
Questions
Any
from the board?
questions? Yes. Go ahead.
Behind Target, you do the test? Before Target, after Target, or behind Target, or?
Right on the left side, Pete, if you face Target, you look at the far right side, there's that driveway that goes around, but the trucks don't use that drive. They unload on the other side of Target, and they've always been gracious enough. We basically block that whole corner off, and the hose testing company tests all the holes, and that they're able to put about 8 lengths out. We cone it off. They'll be there from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, probably, by the time we're done.
Ernie?
Question, on your vehicle status, you continue to put it in there, and I always look at that and read through it, and I've often wondered, when you lay them out here, I just want to know what's been done and what hasn't been done in that. You keep putting them there, so other than myself going back and trying to go through every one of them, I don't know, but if there's some way you can indicate what has been completed and where you're at on everything.
Well, we're required to rate any known issues with the truck. So a lot of these you see are getting repeated. They haven't reached the point where we have to effect a repair on them, but it's noted they're rusty. We got a slight leak here. The valve isn't closing completely. One of the ones, 2175, I didn't have time before the meeting to update that, but just this week, we're fortunate enough, one of our firefighters is an electrical engineer. So he's gone in and totally redone the electrical charging system on 75. All that cost me is the charger for the unit. I don't have to pay any labor. We're getting a little slave labor off some of our people. So he's repaired that, so that will be taken off for next month. The rest of them are minor gear leak. We have to report it. We have to track it so that when it comes anytime ISO comes, wants to look at our vehicles, wants to look at any issues, some of them will appear month after month until they reach a point where they become critical, and then we end up having them repaired. And some of these will go away, just like we have to test all our fire hose. We have to annually pressure test and flow test our pumps. So some of these issues will actually get taken care of during the pump test. If they have to replace some packing in the pump, they'll do that prior to the pump test. You know, there are issues, but they're not anything that hampers the ability of the apparatus or the capability of the apparatus. So.
Okay, that's a good question. Anything else for the chief? Okay. And we can move on to Mike if you want to
Yeah, I need to
introduce
get-
him.
We have family participation.
Sweet. It's a good thing.
You want to grab the microphone, Ron, it'd be better.
They don't bite, honest girls, I promise.
Unless you're
They've all
posing
had
a
their
budget,
shots.
then they bite.
If you want to grab the microphone, it might be easier, Ron, when you do that. You just tap it on.
Grab it?
Yeah.
Okay. But first of all, not all the board members know Mike, so I just want to give a little bio. Mike is born and raised in Marquette. I'm proud to say he's another swamper like me. He's married, has 2 daughters, as we can see quite clearly. He's attended NMU. He's earned a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, technology, and a master's degree in training development, which obviously we plan to put to use in the fire department extensively. Mike has worked in both the automotive and mining industries, earning numerous industry certifications award. He has presented fire safety material at the Mining Safety and Health Administration Myocia National Conference. Additionally, he has presented and developed leadership and safety training material to both peers and supervisor. Mike is currently a State of Michigan certified firefighter, instructor, EMT, and fire apparatus, and has over 18 years experience in the fire service. Mike was with us, went downstate to an engineering company, went to the mines, and then came back. So he has a couple different times that he's been on the department. So he totals up 18 years now. So. And Mike is in the process of working toward his Fire Inspector 1 certification. We're going to try to get him into the National Fire Academy out in Emmitsburg late this fall. So that's a little bio on Mike. And all right. I'll read the paragraph first, Mike, and then if you'll repeat. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the state of Michigan, against all enemies, both foreign and domestic.
I, Mike Gregory, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Michigan against all enemies, both foreign and domestic.
I pledge to serve the citizens of the Charter Township of Marquette with compassion, courage, and integrity under the appointment of the Marquette Township Fire Rescue.
I pledge to serve the citizens of the Charter Township of Marquette with compassion, courage, and integrity under the Marquette Township Fire and Rescue.
According to the laws and standards of the state of Michigan and the Charter Township of Marquette and the departmental policies of the Marquette Township Fire Department.
According to the laws and standards of the state of Michigan and Charter Township of Marquette and the departmental policies of Marquette Township Fire Department.
To the best of my skills and abilities, so help me God.
To the best of my skill and ability, so help me God.
Okay, girls, it's showtime. Who's gonna pin the badge? That's you, Olivia. All right. There you go. Okay. Okay, come on. Let's get back to this one. Here we go. You can hold it, but you can't talk. Congratulations, Mike. If you and your kids would like to greet the board members.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
Ron, do I have to sign that form that you got there for as a clerk, or is that,
No.
Okay,
He's
very
got-
good.
We got an actual one that he'll.
very good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, you guys. That's the fun part about this job. Okay. Yes, John.
Well, I'm ready when you are.
To,
Next item.
okay. Got it. I'm just crossing stuff off. 'Cause we don't have to do the water production. We don't have to do the firefighter. All right. Now we're down to unfinished business. Road project update. That will come from Dave.
Yeah, I give you a brief one that everybody's aware that it was the contract was awarded to Baco. Baco has subcontractor Smith Paving that is doing the culvert replacement and the driveway and sidewalk cuts. They're doing them now. They started actually the Monday following the meeting, and they are going to be at that until just about the first week in July, and then they're going to start the crushing and shaping mid-July. So not too many changes from what was forecast the last time. We have come across a few issues that are going to dip into the contingency, but nothing major. We've come up with a couple drains that needed to be rerouted when we were doing the culverts. And just a reminder to the residents out there that the whole objective of this road rehab program is to keep the water on the road until we can control where it's exiting. The intent of the project never was and still isn't to fix all the drainage problems in the Trowbridge area. That's just an absolute impossibility with the budget we've got going.
Got to save something for the road commission.
Yeah.
Yes, Randy.
And I talked to Dave yesterday about this, but the residents gotta be patient because some roads have been fixed, which have all the water on them. Now they're dumping onto some roads that haven't been fixed yet. So the water is pouring off those roads. So until those other roads are fixed, you can't really see the progress of the project. But remember, we're not. The objective is not to make it any worse than it was previous to when we started this project. We can't do storm sewers. That would be way too costly. So as Dave said, we're trying to keep all the water on the roads until we can get it off to a stream or somewhere else. So.
Or somebody else's yard.
No,
I'm
no.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
And we've had a couple issues that have been resolved, and I will give Baco their due. They're very responsive to those. When we have a problem, they step up and they get proactive about doing something with it. And so far, they've been very easy to work with. We'll see what the rest of the project brings.
Do you have a question, John?
No, I just have a statement. 2 years ago, when we first started talking about fixing the roads, there was a sale that had to be made that convinced our citizens that they needed to be involved and be willing to pay millage to fix roads that belong to the county. And I think that effort that was made and the tremendous job that was done by the road committee to introduce a program that made sense and was accepted by our citizens. And now here we are, 2 years later, nearing having fixed every road, every county road in the township. I think we can be extremely proud, and I think we should also be thankful for Dave's leadership in making it happen. And I, for one, will always be indebted to that because it was a real job. It isn't easy to ask people for money, and it isn't easy to pass millage, and it was extremely awkward to do that for roads that don't belong to us. And I think we should be damned happy. And the citizens of this community should be very thankful. Thank you.
That's nice. Thanks, John. Anything else? We're good? Thanks, Dave. Excuse me. 10.2 is consider special assessment for ambulance purchase.
Take one, pass one down.
Ron is up again, and I know that Randy's got some things he wants to share.
Yeah, well, I'll give Ron a little reprieve here for a bit.
Yes,
At your last meeting, you held a public comment. And the public comment was to take public comment in the consideration of potentially increasing the special assessment currently that funds the fire department at 2.5 mils. The purpose of that public hearing and the discussion was to provide the board information to determine whether or not you wish to go forward with acquiring a transport vehicle for the expansion of the BLS service that we currently provide and have been providing without the capability of transport. Following the public hearing, the indication that I got from the board was that there was support for moving forward, and in fact the board did charge staff to go forward and to calculate, first of all, to determine if there is a suitable vehicle available, and to determine what the cost of that would be applied to the special assessment. We have done that. Chief DeMars has been very busy for over the last 2 weeks. We both have, basically, looking at different options and different packages that were available. We did come up with one that we believe is very suitable for the job. The spreadsheet that I just passed out to you, a 3-page spreadsheet, is the complete documentation of all of the equipment that would be necessary to be acquired, the vehicle, the licensing, the insuring, the inspecting, the whole package basically is what you asked us to do. We have put that together, and at this time I'm asking the board to consider taking a formal motion to increase the special assessment by 0.19 mil to a total of 2.69 mils for only 1 year, 2018 levy, to be levied in December, collected in January through March of next year, to fully finance the acquisition and stocking and putting on the road of a transport vehicle for the fire department. We do have one on hold. We also have a power gurney on hold, and have financing approved by the bank. So all that's necessary at this point, if the board wishes to go forward, is to formally pass a motion to increase the special assessment for that purpose by 0.19 mil.
So moved.
Moved and support. Questions, comments? Ron, did you have anything you wanted to add or describe?
Just want to make the board aware
You can go right here if you want.
Hey, Ron,
If you want.
there's a new one.
0.19.
we're probably looking from the time, we actually secure the funding from the bank, a 3-month time period to totally license the unit and put it on the road. The greatest, the biggest hurdle to get by is going to be the actual licensing to the state of Michigan Department of VMS, and they're short-staffed and overworked, so right now they've just given us a heads up, plan on 3 months for your paperwork to totally clear. But in that time, we're going to be, there's also stuff we want to get done with the ambulance and work on the ambulance. But to be realistic with the board, once we procure the ambulance, the cot, we got to get all the stock in. We have to be inspected by 2 different agencies. It has to go down to one of the car carrier garages in Marquette. It has to get a certified inspector to be roadworthy. So there is, it's not like 2 weeks from now that ambulance is going to be on the road and operating. The other thing we need to be aware of, the billing cycle. We do have a company on retainer that's going to do the billing for us. That is their specialty. And as you can imagine, from just having to deal with your own insurance through the household, insurance billing is a very specialized field. We're not, we were warned early on, do not even attempt it. If you want to get what you're entitled to, you need to have a company that's able to negotiate the Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross Blue Shield stormy waters and actually maximize our return. So Connie's figuring, she said there'll be another 3, from the time you start actually transporting it and be able to bill, there'll be another 3-month lag before you actually see that revenue come through by the time the process is through Blue Cross. And she also warned us to anticipate when we first start billing, they come up, they install the software program on our computers for us, and then we fill out the report. She said you can anticipate the first couple of months. We're going to kick those reports back to you and say you need to be more detailed here, less detailed there. So we'll develop the protocol for filling out the insurance forms and the billing forms for it. But it's not like we're going to see instant revenue, and it's not like that ambulance is going to be on the road, in the end of August. It's just, it's probably going to be more like September, mid-September to October before it actually is on the road and we're able to utilize it. So.
And all of this was taken into consideration in the whole process, so through the discussions and everything else. And I realize you have a motion on the floor, but I think Ron's done a tremendous job. I think he used up some of his chits on this process with the ambulance and the cart, the gurney itself. Basically, we basically got them for about half of what they were asking. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of support from Rob and Mike, to assist in that process. But it's been a very busy 2 weeks. So did an excellent job.
Randy?
All right, I do have one public comment letter, and actually I think Lynn has another one. But we'll both read those. I want them read into the record before the decision was made, so we'll read the one that I have. It was dated June 20th as of today. Dear Marquette Township Supervisor Durant and Board of Trustees, this evening I have another commitment and ask this letter be read aloud regarding the discussion of ambulance service. 2 weeks ago, I spoke at a special board meeting regarding adding ambulance service to our fire and rescue services. I still hold the same opinion that adding ambulance services is an excellent idea for the benefit of our community. The day after I stood before your board, I called 911 to help a guest at my business that was having a serious medical issue. UP EMS arrived and the crew of EMTs assessed the situation and competently provided medical care to the individual along with transport. Unfortunately, occasional medical incidents at my business are not new to me, and we have to address them as they come along. This recent medical incident made me an even stronger believer that Marquette Township needs to acquire an ambulance and provide this medical service to our community. Think about it. Marquette Township's population is getting older, our business district is getting larger, more visitors, and our population swells in the summer months with travelers to the motels and hotels. This type of environment is ripe for potential medical emergency. UP EMS can only handle so many calls throughout our community, and we as a township can't afford to let any of our residents wait when medical transport and EMT care is necessary. Finally, I must address the cost issue. For my business, it is a tiny one-time increase in the millage of less than $200 that I am happy to pay. Tonight, I ask the board members please support the purchase of the ambulance for our township and take us to the next level of emergency services. Sincerely, Reg Durant.
Okay, then I have an email today I received. Please consider not levying the monies for the used ambulance for Marquette Township. We have an advanced life support trauma 2 facility here at UPHS Marquette capable of responding to any emergencies with our area. I believe that the liability of this endeavor of the township would far outweigh the benefits. Has the expense of additional liability coverage been investigated? Thank you for your time. You need not respond. Linda St. Aubin, IT Administrative Coordinator, Information Technology Department, UP Health Systems Marquette, at Duke Life Point Hospital. So those are the two correspondents we got today regarding this. Yes, Ernie.
I think like last time we talked about, by moving forward with this, if we find out after a year to 18 months it's not what we want to plan on, the ambulances there, that is have a value, residual value, so we can put it out for sale along with probably a lot of the equipment too. So it's a something we want to give it a try to, and hopefully that it will do what we want to do. And I think Trustee Marks made a excellent statement last time that if it saves one resident's life, it's well worth the cost that we're going through in that. So I think it's moving forward in that. I think the other thing is, I'm asking the manager to see if my figures are correctly on a .19, if we're talking about $19 per 100,000 in that.
That's correct. It would be $19 per 100,000 of taxable value, so the residents know what we're talking about. .19 mil. The cost of this thing is $40,600 total package.
So if you have a $200,000 home that would be assessed at $100,000, it will
Right.
cost you $19 one time for this purchase, for this investment. And that's where Reg said for that business, it would just be less than $200 one time.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. If you look at the last page, at the total cost of the whole package is $40,634.82. That's everything.
Follow-up?
Ron mentioned about the company that will be doing the status and that. Is that part of the cost that they will, you said before, I think it was 3 or 4% of that. Will that,
They take that out.
setting up, all setup costs and that
Yep.
too?
Exactly. That includes the company coming up, installing the software on the computers, setting it up, and then they have a quality assurance program that we work back and forth to fine tune the reports to make sure that we're getting the maximum return on our billing on it. So it's as you can imagine, when you get your own medical bill or from the hospital, it's a very specialized. It's coded. I mean, there isn't any, Duke LifePoint has a billing company. Everybody does that's into this. It's too complex. That's a specialty to itself. We figured that out going in early, and this gal has met with Randy and the fire department, very knowledgeable. When I started calling around trying to locate, this particular company came up time and time again. They're located in southeastern Lower Michigan. They bill for Michigan, Ohio, that whole mid-central region there. So I
So
think
when that comes up, who will be signing that actually, it's a contract with that firm, I take it, that too, so.
It'll be a service contract, correct. That contract will come before you for review.
Come before us and we'll have, and either the supervisor, the clerk, or the manager, someone's gonna have to be
Right.
authorized to sign.
That's correct.
Dan, did you have something?
I just wanted to comment on the great work that Ron and Rob and Mike did on putting this all together and finding these great deals out there for .19 mils. I mean, this is a win-win situation for all the citizens of the township, even maybe the 4 that didn't like it in the first place. They're not here to voice their opinion on it again, and so they must be willing to accept it. So thank you again, Ron, for all your work you did.
No, thank the board for the support.
Well, if you think about it, we're going on these calls anyway, and if we have an opportunity to recoup some of that cost, how can we not? Like Randy said last time, if we make $1, we're already ahead of where it would have been yesterday.
You look at public safety services, I mean, it's police, fire, and EMS. And, we had the EMS, but we had a very limited component of it. We're just basically rounding out the EMS side of that triangle, those 3 basic services. So we're now going to have complete ability to respond to the call, to treat the patient, and to transport the patient. So I think it's something that's been long time coming. It's the right time for the township, I truly believe.
Absolutely.
Pete?
Ron, do we plan on sending more and more people out for training?
We will. We've got 2 people that have already committed. One is still going to, just finished, in fact, testing out for firefighter 1 and 2 certification. And she's committed to going to EMT training in the fall. Another individual in the department has committed to go. And we pay, they pay the course, they successfully complete it, the fire department reimburses them for the cost of the course.
Well, we are staffed for now. We don't need anybody to
Yeah,
implement this.
Yeah, we've got sufficient staff. I mean, we are, during the day, we're well covered, and that was always one of the goals as we hired new people, to make sure they were certified EMTs. In the evening, we rely a lot on our part-paid people, but we have a number of them that are also EMTs, so.
Ernie?
I think the last question I have is, what's the projected start date? September.
Don't have one.
Well, right now, it's the main thing that's going to be any holdup is licensing through the state, with the inspection in the state. So as Ron mentioned, they're backlogged, but that's going to be what the holdup is. The vehicle will be delivered here. They're delivering it to us. It's, as Ron mentioned earlier in his earlier presentation, not only are they delivering it to us, but they're also stopping by the other township and picking up the gurney for us. So it'll be here. I mean, it's going to be here quickly, physically here, and it'll, we'll be getting it, getting the markings updated to be our markings, and getting it equipped and getting it stocked and everything else. And the main thing will be the state licensing, basically the inspection. That's going to be the main determinant. Worst case, probably 2 to 3 months. Best case, month, 2 months. We were originally projecting this to be a January 1st start date anyway, so it's going to be earlier than that.
Randy?
Again, residents, we're not getting into the ambulance business. No. We're just doing basic life transport. So right now, we can't throw the patient into the back of the pickup. So
Right.
now we'll be able to actually transport them if they need transportation. So
right. The bottom line we're attempting to do is to reduce the amount of time it takes to get to treatment.
I'll call a question.
Do we need a roll call to increase the assessment?
I think it would be smart to do that.
I like that idea too.
I really
Okay.
don't want the first ride.
The motion is to increase the current special assessment for fire protection from 2.5 mils to 2.69, which is an increase of 0.19 mil. Effective, when is that effective, Randy, for next year?
Well, it's for the levy this year. It'll be
For the levy this year.
December. It's for a 2017 levy, 2018 collection.
So it'll be effective as of 2017 then, so.
We'll be collecting those when we collect everything else.
Correct.
So it'll be effective 2017. Motion maker was trustee Marks.
Yes.
Second was trustee Everson.
Yes?
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
Trustee LaRue.
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
That motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, everybody. I think this is pretty exciting. Yes, John?
Are you ready?
For what now?
Ron has a comment.
Okay.
Ron has
Just-
Oh, Ron, I thought you
Just
said
one comment.
John.
I want to thank the board for their support to this, and I want to warn my boss that I'm going to have to buy John dinner for this.
You think so?
After we beat him up so badly, I did promise him dinner when he
Yeah,
gets up
when he
there.
delivers it. that's
Small
fine.
price
You'll
to
see my
pay.
expense account come through.
Okay. Sounds good.
Remember,
Thank
I
you,
told you it
guys.
was not going to be in Honolulu.
Yeah, Subway's just down the road. Did you have something too, John?
Item 11B.
I got it covered. 11B is consider KBIC 2% gaming funds distribution. We have, let me close some of this stuff.
Yep, you do have a memo before you.
Yep.
And I do want to remind the board, or at least note, that the KBIC has responded with an unsolicited contribution to us. So we did not ask for that. It was something that, remember last year they did the same thing with an unsolicited $10,000, I believe it was.
Should we read the letter?
Well, we can, but we actually approved the 2% pass-through last meeting. This is just the dollars attached to it, but,
And the award we got. Or
yeah.
Right, so your requirement is to accept
Yeah.
accept the cash for pass-through to KBIC, or pass-through to this, to the Superior Watershed Association in the amount of $27,500, and then to retain the remainder towards the recreation underpass.
I'll make a motion that we accept $43,419.72 from the KBIC distribution into the general fund for allocation to the Superior Watershed Partnership, and the $27,500 will go to the Superior Watershed. $15,972.72 will be retained for for Marquette Township.
15,919.
Oh, 15.
919.72.
Okay, 15. Okay. That will be retained from Marquette Township for the underpass project.
Support.
Motion and support. Any comments, or? The letter's just one paragraph from the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. I'll read it especially for the newspaper so he can see what he missed. To Dear Mr. Gerard, please accept on behalf of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community the enclosed check, excuse me, in the amount of $43,419.72. This payment is part of the 2% distribution from our Marquette Ojibwa 2 casino, and it is requested that $27,500 be allocated to the Superior Watershed Partnership Program for the KBIC Youth Conservation Corps, and $15,919.72 be allocated towards the construction of a recreational underpass of US 41 and connector trails through the Marquette Township Recreation Committee. And it's signed Doreen Blaker, Treasurer, KBIC. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It was a nice
Thank
surprise.
them.
Now, we'll be distributing that.
Goes into the general fund, and then we write it back out. 11C, consider recycling ordinance from Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority. The little packet it is kind of a packet of information on the recycling ordinance from the Solid Waste Authority, pardon me, is kind of an information thing. We were going to take it off of the agenda and maybe have legal look at it, but I thought it might be better to even ask you, since you read it, whether or not we even want to bother with this before we invest legal time and money into something that we really don't have to do. We're already recycling. For some of the, oh, Roger's smirking. For some of the smaller townships especially, they don't have things in place, and this is geared for the general law townships besides. So I wanted to have a discussion and obviously find out what Roger is thinking down at the other end. Go ahead, sir.
I had not seen it until about 4:45 this afternoon. At this point, I have a number of questions. It's not immediately apparent why we would want to enact this ordinance. Many of the things that are included in it in terms of establishing sizes of containers, or if you will recycle or won't recycle, can and should be included in your contract with your garbage hauler. And to some degree, if you have an ordinance that specifies all of these things, you might almost be tying your own hands as future contracts come up or bidders inquire about submitting bids. So while it's certainly a laudable effort to encourage recycling, I'm not sure that this ordinance is the best way to accomplish that. It also poses or imposes civil infraction penalties of $100 per violation, up to $500 for subsequent violations. It's not entirely clear who is getting penalized if this is invoked. Are we looking at, for example, imposing a penalty for using the wrong size recycling bin? I'm not sure that's the best use of resources of prosecuting those types of claims. And again, those are the types of issues that can be addressed directly in your hauling contract, because the contractor will specify what type of recycling it will pick up, and if the customer or the resident doesn't comply with those criteria, then they don't pick it up. So it's not immediately apparent to me what the benefit is here.
Yes, Randy?
I make a motion, we take no action on this item and
Support.
make it, township's already recycling with our hauler, and like I said, I agree with Roger. It probably is good for an area that doesn't have it, but we have it, and we're recycling, and I don't think there's no need to tie anyone's hands further.
Anything else? I agree, but that we were asked to consider it, so I'm glad we didn't spend the legal funds first. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Sometimes we have to say no. We don't agree with everything. Consider budget amendment number 2017-04.
All right, I present to the board the budget amendment 2017-04, and the highlights of that is for elections primarily. Authorization is requested to fund the primary and general elections, as well as training 20-plus election inspectors on new equipment. Travel and conference will be decreased in the board and treasurer's department due to lower than expected MTA conference expenditures. Professional fees, accounting services are 80% of the estimate used for the budget. Attorney fees are expected to be lower than projected. Also requested is an increase in revenue and expenditures in the fire fund for an insurance reimbursement pertaining to a door repair in the fire hall. And that's the highlight of that. So elections is basically $8,000 I'm asking for, and the fire fund's going to change $4,000.
So you had already given your money up a while back. and
Yeah,
because of
so-
the extra elections, you had to kind of take it back.
Well, we took money back for the server, and now we're scraping more money out for elections that we didn't plan to have, but we do have it, so. I made a motion to approve this.
Do you have a
Support.
second? John supported. Roll call?
Clerk Rattari is yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I looked over here, you must have put your
I
hand
know
up
I
back there.
volunteered, but someone should have told me they were actually taking my money.
You didn't turn your light on there.
The other question is, if you don't use it all, will I get some back?
Right.
I don't hear any response, so I get to take it, no. Okay.
If
Well,
you
you'll
need
also,
some-
you'll also remember is that that was the money that was going to pay for the new data servers too, that now come out of the general fund.
I know.
So I'm
I had
trying
to say it,
I'm trying
make
to,
a comment.
I'm trying to find out where that's coming from, because yours has already been taken, so.
No, mine's been taken.
I would say
I had
you have a
little left in
problem.
mine. We'll find it. We'll have to share. Okay, go ahead, Randy.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Marks?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Duran.
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0.
Okay, next. 11E, consider adoption of the MTA policies of governance. As Clerk Rattari mentioned when we started the meeting tonight, we did have a work session for an hour and a half with Susan Radwan. So the public knows it was aired, and it's on YouTube, right?
I did not get that from Susan, but we're hoping that we can get this all in a recording and I can put it on YouTube. So if the residents watch it, they can find out what policy governance is a little bit more about.
Yep, that would be good. And so the question tonight is, do we want to have another meeting, which is what Susan recommended? It'll be another work session, hopefully in 2 weeks or even 1 week. And we can do it on, I call it Skype, but video conference.
Yeah, video conference.
It was very effective. We were able to see her. We saw the materials she had, plus we had them in front of us, and we went through steps 3 and 4 of policy governance. We need to go back and do 1 and 2. So I'm kind of looking for, yes, let's set up a work session. Sure. Go ahead, Pete.
What do we want to accomplish by going policy governance?
That's a good question.
And also, are we doing something that wrong that we have to do something like this? I've talked to 2 different townships today, well, the only 2 in the state of Michigan, in lower Michigan, that has policy governance, and they'd prefer not to be in it.
And there's
So
not-
that's what I'm asking, that's why
Yes.
before that, I was all for it, but what do we want to accomplish? I talked to a manager down in Meridian. He said just all it did is give me a lot more problems as far as filling out forms and that's just a waste of my time. And he said if you got a good working board, he says, I question if you need it. So I'm just starting to question it before we get too far along here like we did before. Do we really need it? What do we want to accomplish by it? And, I'd like to have them questions answered first.
I can answer some of them for you, and I don't know if the rest of the board might have some input too. When Dennis first suggested that we do this and look at it, and the material he gave us, I was against it. And the more I studied what you can accomplish with it, the more I became convinced that it was a good tool for a municipality to have that gives stability. What you have to look at when you consider the ends and the means, as far as the manager goes, is it gives them direction and parameters on how to perform their job. And
We got that.
You can't think of the organization based on the people you have now. You have to look at the positions. In 3 years, we may have 7 new people here, we may have 2 new people, 1. That changes. Randy may retire, the department managers may retire or quit and take another job. And it is totally up to the next board whether they want to continue policy governance. They can change their mind. But I think when you have so many different variables in a municipality, it's very much like a business. If you have a core structure that helps the board find out how they need to operate, especially when you have new members coming in. It's a good information generator. It takes a lot of the organizational tasks from the board and places them in the operating department they belong in. It gets us out of micromanaging, and I'm not saying we necessarily are right now. We have a completely capable manager. His staff is happy with how things are running. It's not because we're doing something wrong. It's because we want to tighten up the way we operate and be more effective. It's no different than getting an audit or having, a company come in and kind of see if you're functioning properly. That's what I see. And I'm sure there's 7
But I looked at the agenda, we talked about the agendas, and I got one from Union, one from Meridian, and I don't see a lot of changes, a lot of difference.
Yeah, they're a lot like ours.
Yeah, and so what's our cost for something like this? And we already give direction to the manager. He, in return, gives directions to his staff. So I just want to make sure when we do this, that it's for the right reasons. And right now I'm questioning if we have to do this because of I would say the quality of the board and how we operate. And I think we're operating pretty much just along with policy. We don't start telling the people what to do, except for
But
Dave.
we're not always going to be, this isn't for us. This is for the township.
Exactly, I'm saying that.
Yeah,
There's no difference what we're doing now.
it is, because the biggest thing that you'll notice is the reporting, the justification for what happens. We'll have more information, more streamlined, more concise than we do now. We won't have to be asking as many questions. We won't spend a lot of time.
We just had two
Deliberating.
staff members up here tonight, one from the Public Works and one from the Fire Department, and before, we never did that. That said, you tell Randy, I want a more complete report. You tell you that we just want facts in there, and it's done.
So you're saying what we're doing now is already policy governance?
Exactly.
We don't have the policies to back those up.
Well, that's our fault.
We're gonna, yeah, that's what I'm trying to fix.
Yeah.
That's what I think
But do we
we
have to
should-
get into policy governance, the whole thing change?
We don't have to, no.
Oh, I'm just trying to,
We can do what
question
we
what
want.
on the voting you asked for. I'm just questioning exactly do we need it and
The purpose, yeah, I get it. Randy has something he wants to add.
Well, I just think, sometimes we tie our staff's hands by doing things that from the board level that if we're in policy governance, we wouldn't have to worry about a small piece of equipment here that the board has to approve. They can go out and do it and get it done. We set the policy, they do what they need to do. And that's board work. We're not into micromanaging the staff, and I don't think we're doing it now. But as Lynn is right, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you might have 7 different people here, and staff might be changed, but it's something for the township, a core value that can move in the future. And for orientation of staff and for board members, it's much more helpful in this system by doing this. And I mean, we can give it a try. We can always do a modified version of it. But I think if we don't give it a try, like the ambulance service, we're never going to know how it works. And we can always go back from it.
We're not tied into any contract.
We're not tied into anything.
Okay, I just want everyone to understand that.
Yeah.
So-
No, this is
Is there a
just a
fee for this?
philosophy.
Are we paying a fee?
For the training part, we are, and that's why we opted for the visuals, so that we don't have to have Susan come up here and pay motels and meals and mileage. It's cheaper.
But I
this
just
way.
don't, I wouldn't want to see Randy have too many more reports to write, because I think he's overworked a little bit, and we're not getting enough out of him. Or, no, I'm just kidding. No, I just don't. he-
200 pounds for Greg.
Yeah, he don't need any more reporting.
Actually, he is looking forward to this, the last time I talked to him. It sets the parameters, it sets the guidelines that he follows. Then he just says, okay, I just have these reports to do. I need to go get this, I don't have to bring it to a board meeting, I can just do it. We give him a directive.
Oh, get another person to help him then.
We're gonna
Because
take
that's
that
what
out
you
of
need right
Ernie's
now.
budget
That's what you need
too.
right now, because we're not getting things done that
Taking it all
way.
I got.
Yeah. Okay, Ernie?
I kind of follow the same line as Pete does.
You have from the beginning, yeah.
I have right from the beginning that, and I think we can go through and look at it and pick out what we think is beneficial to the township as a whole. The sample you sent over from the food co-op, to me, that was out the door.
Yeah.
And I looked at it.
Agree.
It was really, I couldn't follow it. And if we can't follow it, the residents can't follow it. And that's what I'm looking at, is that, how's it gonna benefit the residents now? And there's some good parts of it. But overall, I think if we can go through and pick and choose what's best for the township and how it relates to the residents of the township, I think that's the way to go in that, at this point in time. And that, it's costing us some dollars, because we had her up here before, and it's costing some dollars too, in that. So I'm not sold on it myself in that. I think we can pick and choose what we want to do. We did, a number of years ago, increase the dollar amount for the manager and for a couple of department heads, so they could do more without having to come to the board. If that's the direction we want to go, we can do things like this here. We can set it up and put limits on it, but put them at such a level that they can operate without having to come to the board for everything in that. These are things that we can do in that, if we want to speed it all up and get it done quicker in that too. So they just have to do reporting in that, and that's about it. So that would be my feeling.
Look at it this way then, let me explain. Excuse me, Dave. We have two, and I was gonna bring them in, 2 3-ring binders of all of our policies that are totally inadequate, and what's the word?
Antiquated.
Antiquated, thank you. And they need to be worked on. We need to do them anyway. Susan's training will help us put all of those, in fact, they are all, Dennis, she and Dennis put those together into what we just looked at, the 4 steps. What we spent time working on 3 and 4, that's a culmination of the policies that we already have. It's putting them into a structure and updating what we have. I showed you a couple of those a few weeks ago that were, you know, it said that, even just about our meeting schedule, it said that the person doing the second public comment could speak indefinitely.
Right.
And until we got through those policies and put them together, that stuff all needs to be updated. And it's in what we have right now with Susan. She put it in that structure. So by adopting that, we will already have established our policies.
It just bothers me that when I talk to the two who are doing it, they're not all, bubbly about it. So I hope that you call up Frank down in Meridian and Union and just ask where they went wrong so we don't go wrong. So,
Susan might know that too, but yeah, I could. But Dave, you had some
Well,
comments.
I think the thing that I look forward to with policy governance is, and it's not, from what I see, it's not policy governance telling the board how to run their township. The board is determining how they're going to run the township by the policies that they put in place. And it's those policies that will continue on year after year until the board changes them. So you can establish what reports you need, and you can establish the format of those reports, and it's just like the water production report. I mean, if it's a pointless report in its present format, then it needs to be changed. And that's what policy governance does. It says, we establish the policy, we tell them what we need, and then we just wait for the reports. And everything that's going on in the township on a monthly or 2-week basis should be clearly outlined in the report, so we don't have to have all these discussions about the intricacies of a water production report. It should be
Exactly.
there, and it's done, and we know that the next time we get the report, it's going to be the same format, it's going to be the same way, and everybody knows how to understand everything that goes on in the township. The board determines the policies that those are going to operate, and what's going to be contained in those reports, and what kind of ultimate goal we want to achieve, and we just do that with policy, as
And staff
opposed to
knows.
directing, having a whole discussion at the board level to direct staff to do one thing. It's the board establishing a policy which staff takes and runs with it from now until somebody changes the policy. They don't have to be directed to do something again.
And then when new people come in or new boards come in, they have a structure to follow. I've been trying to get the planning commission to have, and I was talking to Jason about it, their books. They need to have a workbook of the ordinances and the policies and the personnel policies and whatever applies to them, so they can work on when they're having a meeting. And that's something you can give to the next planning commissioner or the next board member. We need to have those tools. We can't all go to MTA all the time and spend a bunch of time and a bunch of money getting trained on how to do this. This is a unique animal here. And however we can streamline it and make it more informative and more clear for everybody coming into these seats or in the office, that's part of our job, is to do
And I
that.
think that's the best thing about policy governance is it allows this board to establish how it's going to run.
And the township.
Policy governance doesn't really have anything to do with that. It just puts it in a format so that we can set the rules. We don't have to follow their agenda the way it is. We can do whatever agenda we want. It's just that once it's set, and that's the way it goes. And it's going to be a difficult transition to make with a simple thing like an agenda, and that's a very simple thing. It's going to be a difficult transition for everybody on the board to make, because there's going to be different rules that apply and different things you can and can't do. But it's like anything else. Once you try it and you use it for 6 months or so, it all makes a whole lot more sense, and you're not going to, what I suspect is you're not going to understand how you could go back to the old agenda.
So that's all. Yes, John?
From the beginning, I've thought that the term policy governance is the stumbling block. If you just said this is a guide, and that's all this is, and a guide that can be changed, a guide that can be altered, a guide that we can find isn't working, can be reviewed and altered as we go along, then policy governance or the guide is okay. And that's what's wrong with. And we also have somebody from the outside who's very articulate, makes a great presentation, but sounds like they're telling us what we should do. And that's the part that doesn't sit well. So I say, you want to have another meeting like this, like we had, save money by having it on video. I say it's okay. We listen, we accept, and we adopt what we feel is appropriate. And that's all this is. But I think that the goal of trying to keep forming this into something that is better for the future, that's okay. But I wouldn't get too excited about it. I would just take it and keep molding it so that it fits what we want. And I'm not sure we know where we want it to go and how we want it to fit. And I don't think we ever will, because it's always going to be changing. And so I think the goal is okay, but I wouldn't get too excited about it, and I wouldn't get too, I don't think we need to put it into a ruling rule. It doesn't need to be that. And it perhaps never should be.
Dan?
I think change in itself is what people have difficult times with. Anytime you're comfortable with how things are running and feel that they're running smoothly, to change that, you've got reservations. I can see where this could work. I've got a lot to learn about it personally. I think definitely we need another work session with Susan. And if we need that in the form of a motion, I'll make that. I'd like to do it within a couple of weeks so we don't forget everything we've just learned. And then start slowly adopting it and put it into place and try using it and see how it goes. If it goes well, good.
I'll support your motion of scheduling a work session.
Didn't we have something set up on the 27th?
We asked her if her schedule permitted, but I told her we were going to put it on the agenda and talk about it.
She said the 27th, Tuesday the 27th, at like 4 to 6 would work, so, and I think.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, that's right, you left early, so you didn't get in on that part of the
how about
discussion.
Wednesday?
say?
or-
But yeah, how about Wednesday?
27th
Of what?
of this month.
This?
Yep, next week. Does Wednesday work from 4 to 6 for anybody? 28th?
46, you got planning at 7,
I got an hour.
township at 7.
That works for me.
That works?
I think it
But
worked
the only
for
thing,
Susan.
Lynn, I was up, I'm all for it, I was looking at it before, and, I read all the old stuff we got before, but when I talked to these two people, the only two that's in it, and they're not happy with it, and Union, I think, is gonna drop, so that's what I'm saying, I'm hoping you and Randy talk to them people down there and just see, what's the problem, so we don't make the same problem.
Oh, I get it. I totally
right.
get it.
28th?
28th? I'll email her and,
What?
Are we going to
tentatively,
put
4
in
to 6,
28th?
4 to
28th,
6,
4 to 6?
4 to
4 to
6?
6?
in the
Okay.
small conference room again.
or the big conference room.
Yeah, medium room.
Yeah.
Smaller than this. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so tentatively, 4 to 6, June 28th, Wednesday. And maybe if we get through those next two sessions and we say, you know what, we're not interested in this, it's kind of like, I was thinking while you were talking, Robert's Rules of Order. We never really adopted them officially, but we use them as a guideline.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much different. And I still think it would help staff to understand their jobs better.
I have Union and Meridian agenda here, and I'll make copies for those who want them.
Yes, Randy?
Another part of this agenda item is the MTA sent us this principles of governance, and I think we should approve that. I think it's just kind of like our board of conduct anyway, but.
Yep, we did that already a couple years ago. Ernie?
That's what I thought. We already we had already approved this a number of years ago on that, too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't this board.
Yeah. it's
Oh, you
prob-
want
So I
just
think
for this board or
They,
not for the?
they like to have it be refreshed, to have it current. Well,
Okay.
we don't have to.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I'll make a motion, we approve this
second
MTA
it.
Principles of Governance.
As long as we follow it.
Okay with that? Dennis always said that we should have our strategic plan behind us, our agenda, and I think that's something we should have somewhere, either in our offices or put it up on the wall, so people can see what we do agree to and hold us accountable for it.
Put it up on a screen.
Yeah, because you were gonna
Does-
talk about splitting the
Does
screen.
Does MTA have adopted this
Yes.
Yes.
for their board?
Mm-hmm. And MTA is just adopting policy governance too. Okay, well, we have a motion and support for this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries 6-1.
So you're not gonna sign it?
No.
Okay. Okay. So that wasn't even an agenda item.
See,
So
I
right now-
already voted for this a number of years ago, so.
Well, like I said, it's a different board. That's the only reason they're recommending it. Okay, we're down to manager's report.
I can do that, yep.
You do have my printed report, and I really don't have a whole lot to add to the printed report, other than, follow up on what Pete had said. The 8th annual car show was last Saturday, and it was really a large success. Regardless, the weather was not bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. We had great turnout. What's going on the slideshow here is just showing you what you're buying with the
Yeah,
ambulance and the cart. So this is the ambulance that we have found. It's a road ambulance, basically, is the nomenclature for it. But I just thought I'd run these pictures so you can see what it is that we're acquiring to put on the road. Doesn't need hardly anything, but at any event. So the car show was I think a big success. We did a couple of different things this year that made it a little more fun. We had a Rev It Up competition where folks would be able to rev their cars up and show them off a little bit for the power and the modifications that they had done on them. We had a burnout competition where literally they could actually hook up to a wrecker basically and blew smoke their tires, and it was to the effect that two of them actually brought a separate set of tires that they just wanted to just burn up and blow up, and they actually did blow them up and had to change the tires. But it was a very we got a lot of really good comments, and I want to thank Todd Nordyke and Sonny, all of his radio stations, his whole radio group. It was on all 6 of his stations advertising it. He was there the whole day doing kind of the MC type routine and keeping things going. Pete was there all day setting up, and we had the entire events committee, Barb Wiegand and Kate. What's Kate's last name?
Half.
Yeah, Kate.
Is it?
Hoeff.
Huff. Kate Huff. I never know how to pronounce that name. But anyway, it came off really well, and we had some other volunteers that came along as well. We heard a lot of good comments, and it's grown. It's bigger this year than it was last year, and like I said, this was our 8th year, and we're looking forward to again an expanded growth for the community days in August as well. So, unless board members have any questions, I really didn't have anything else to add to the manager's report.
Anything for the manager? Yes, Ernie.
Going through your management report, you're talking about the tentative schedule for the roads and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the problem fixed reconstruction with possible water. And I look at the water and the dollar amounts they have. Are we going to be able to do any water?
No, we're not doing water with this part of the project.
It says possible with possible water on
Yeah, well, no. No, you ended that. This was the last phase of it, and we removed that from the project. This is not the final schedule. This is the same schedule that was in the prior manager's report, because they have not set their paving schedule as yet. This is still a projected.
Yes.
US 41 Corridor Advisory Group.
Mm-hmm.
There's one comment on the MDOT one. They talked, MDOT will implement a left turn phase at the Brickyard Road signal. Can you explain to me what they're talking about there? Are they going to have a special left turn there? A signal for a left turn? Right now, if it's a go, you
Well, actually, I'm not so sure that they're really going to pursue that anymore, because they are going to be doing in 19, they're going to be converting that to a roundabout. So that had been talked about, doing a specific designated left turn, and they may still have that on their record. Is something that they're still looking at, but I doubt that they'll put any more money into that intersection, knowing that it's going to be redone in 2019. But they may. That is a temporary light. That's not a permanent light that's there now. So they may be looking at putting a left turn phase on that for the remainder of its life. But that's something that they do. It's no cost to us.
I know that, but if you put a left turn, like roundabout there, with Myers coming in there, it's going to be a mess in that area.
And that may be why they're talking about putting a left turn, a phased left turn, so you don't have to pick your way through. You have a designated left turn light.
If you remember too, they asked us a couple months ago how we felt about that end of the corridor, just to kind of get a feel for what the township was looking for. So they still may be kind of culminating a decision. Sure, they'll let us know. Anything else for the manager? Public comment? Anybody want to say a few words before we go? No? Additional comments from board members? Yes, John?
I have a request for the manager. I'd like to ask that a formal request be drafted by the staff. Principally, I'm talking about the manager, requesting that the KBIC consider our request that they allocate or award the sum of $40,634.82 of the 2% gaming funds distribution to aid in the purchase, supply, and equipment of the Marquette Township Fire Department ambulance.
Okay.
So moved.
No, we're outside of
We
the,
can't-
Well, I mean, well,
You could have done it maybe
As soon as we can, I'll do that.
when we were talking about the,
But I would like to have the manager do this, and the reason for that is should they consider this as graciously as they have past issues of interest, then what we would do is immediately end the tax to our citizens.
We would not have to levy it. Huh?
And you have to agree to something else.
Does that need a motion, or is that just a request from the board?
yeah, we're kind of out of the scope. If he had maybe done that, I don't know, protocol-wise, I don't. If it was something we wanted to discuss during, we should have put it on the agenda. You could have let me know ahead of time, and I would have been able to
You
include it.
can't put it on the agenda until the passage of the amount that we passed.
But you still could have asked to have it, and then we could have
But-
discussed it.
But
You could have it an agenda item for your next meeting.
We would have time.
I'm asking the manager to draft
Well-
Okay.
then we could look at it and consider it on the agenda
Sure.
if it was already prepared.
I can
As
do
long
that.
as the board is okay with asking him that too. I mean,
Okay, why
we have
don't
to
we find
dir-
out whether the board
we
is
have to
okay?
direct him as a group. That's part of what we do. We can't have just one person asking him to do stuff.
You can't ask the manager to draft that?
You can't. The board can direct him. He's all of our employees. What if I don't want him to do that? What if Ernie and Dan don't want him to do that?
Why don't you vote no on it and let the
Because
taxpayers
it's
go
not
ahead and pay for it?
it's not an agenda item. So if you want me to add it to the next agenda, I'm happy to do that.
Are you saying as a supervisor that someone can't make this request of the manager?
In the first place, we're finished with the agenda. Okay,
We're not finished with the
We're
agenda.
not making motions outside of the agenda
We're not,
items.
it's not a motion.
You
It's
just made a
just a
motion.
request.
You made a motion. It wasn't
We
supported.
couldn't have the motion, but I can make a request. And if you're, as supervisor, saying you can't make a request, then I think policy governance is really gone to hell.
The only thing I don't like about that, John, is that when they ask us for our support and our blessings on the letter to go to the governor, and you brought up, well, if you would pay for that ambulance, we could probably consider saying yes.
No, I've never said that.
That's the way it came out, John.
I use discretion and I use common sense.
Yeah.
I said we could ask them to consider various things of interest.
Yeah. But just like reading in between the lines there.
Well, trust me, there was a good deal of meaning went on when
I know it.
when the planner went over there and talked to them about that.
Ernie, did you have something?
I think the biggest thing, when you get in a situation like this, asking staff to do something, I think you, at this point in time in the meeting, is ask the board if they would consider requesting some staff to do something like this, and it has to be a request to the board.
Okay.
The board then would have to make a decision, and being we're out of the agenda completely, we're out of the point in time where the board can really make a decision at this point in time. So we're moving away from that, and when you get into public comment or board comment, you're moving away from the point of action in that at this point in time. I think the best thing would be to, if you want, get it on the agenda next time as an action item for discussion on that, so.
Like me to put it on the agenda?
Prepare the letter ahead of time.
Do you want me to add it for next time?
So moved.
Okay. Any other board member comments? Randy?
Okay, now that that's decided, July 10th is a Monday. You have till 4 o'clock to register for the August 8th election. So if you want to vote and you're not registered, make sure you're in here by Monday, July 10th by 4 p.m. I will be here, or a member of my staff will be here on Saturday, August 5th, which is the same day as Community Day, from noon to 2, and we'll be able to give out or take absentee ballots that day. And the election is August 8th, polls open at 7 and close at 8. And be courteous to your neighbors. We won't meet until July 5th, so be courteous to your neighbors with fireworks, and don't blow them off all night on July 4th, which is a Tuesday. Because I believe they can start blowing them off Monday and even that Wednesday. But
2 days and 2 days, maybe.
yeah, but be courteous of your neighbors and be safe. And enjoy the summer, because starting tomorrow the days start getting shorter.
Well, thanks a lot.
What a-
Randy?
Look, yes.
I just have one question for Randy. People that have received absentee ballots in the past, are they automatically sent another one, or do they have to request?
If you are on the permanent AV list, you will get an application. You will always get an application for each election if you're on the permanent AV list. Then when you get the application, you have to send it back in, and then we'll send the ballot. Ballots are here and they are being mailed, so if you would like an absentee ballot, they are here and you can request one now.
Do you have to request to be on the permanent AV ballot?
Yes, you do. There is a form that my assistant Lois has, and you can get one and get on that list, and every election you'll get an application to vote.
So just filling out one previously does not put you on that list?
No, you have to separately request to be put on the permanent AV list.
Thank you.
Anything else? I need one more motion then.
Move to adjourn. Or second support.
Okay. 8:55.